Off Script with Trish Glose, intimate interviews and conversations with interesting people. In front of my microphone today is Jeff Matschke. You just laughed when I said interesting.
It was just interesting people.
Yeah. So I want you to give the microphone a little bit more love there, Jeff Matschke. We were talking before you said this is so weird. This whole thing is very weird for you.
It's just not my repertoire.
Okay.
Not something I'm used to.
Well, that's all right. We're going to have a really interesting conversation today. You are a Medford firefighter. How long have you been with Medford?
4.5 years or so.
Okay. You're also an Army veteran.
Correct.
Okay. And that's really the main reason why I wanted you here, because I know your story is pretty interesting. First, let's go back. Where are you from originally?
I'm outside of Oakland, the East Bay, where I was raised, and then spent time there until I was about 18, and then joined the Army and left as soon as I could.
Okay, so you're a California kid.
Correct.
Okay. What was your childhood like?
Sports, drums, music. I wasn't home a lot. I was always gone with friends, and just, you can't do that stuff nowadays. But then we were gone until nighttime lights, out in the street come on, and head home.
That's funny you said that. My husband says that all the time. Like, they would be out, riding bikes or whatever, and then as soon as the street lights came on, that was time to go home.
You knew to get home, or else you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So.
And he also says, because he's from Huntington Beach, the fireworks at Disneyland, when those started to go off, that's also when he knew it's time to go home. And
lived a long ways away.
Yeah, you did. So, what sports did you play in high school?
Just ball, basically. I played outfield, center, shortstop, catcher.
Okay.
For about 8 years. So.
And then Army came really fast for you, right after high school.
Correct.
Okay. What made you decide to go into the Army?
I always wanted to, since I was about 8 years old. I have a uncle of mine who was in, and he spoke to me about it ever since I was younger, and I would always ask him about it and watch war movies as a kid, and I just wanted to serve. I knew that we were so young, especially here in the States, that I wanted to do what everyone else before me did, and was to serve. And I was working at a studio doing runs for alcohol and whatnot. I'm at the bars, and I woke up the morning of September 11th and saw what happened, and I hollered at my Army recruiter and was like, "Hey, when can I leave?" And so he was like, "All right." So signed up real quick, and I left about 3.5 months, 4 months after that. And went over to a school of infantry over in Georgia, Benning.
So you were, just go back a little bit. So you knew you wanted to go into the military, Army specifically.
I wanted to go in actually the Corps first, but they don't. At the time, I don't know how they are now, but there's no job guarantees, and I didn't really like that too much, and so I was like, well, I'm not going to sign an open-ended contract where I could be anything. And so that's what I was told, was that you're not jobs guaranteed. So I joined the Army and was offered what I wanted. So. Okay.
And so I think for a lot of people, joining the military is very scary and intimidating, because you're pretty much, as soon as you're in, that's it.
Yeah.
You're essentially handing your life over to someone else.
You are, for sure.
Okay. So, but for you, it was something that you kind of grew up with, it sounds
Correct.
like. Okay.
Correct.
So not only family members, but just even as a young child, it was just watching war movies.
Something I always wanted to do.
Okay.
I actually had no dreams of doing anything else. I didn't know I was, going to go to school after the Army and do what I am now.
Right.
I had no idea.
Okay. And then in high school, sorry, I'm just jumping all over the place. What kind of kid were you in high school? Good kid?
No.
Bad kid?
No. I was good, for the most part.
Right.
But I raised a little hell, and just kind of did my own thing.
Okay.
Just hung out with friends and kind of just ran around, and
Right.
so
you decide at 18, that's it. You're going into the Army. What unit?
I was in the 1st Cavalry Division at a Fort Hood.
Okay. Infantry.
Correct.
And so explain that to me a little bit. Infantry means what?
You're on the ground. We rolled around in Humvees, Bradleys, and whatnot. So you have your light infantry, which your husband was in.
Right.
And then we were mechanized. So you have the tanks, the Bradleys, and all of those. And so that's how we would get around to over in Iraq and everywhere else we went.
Okay. A little bit of a badass.
No.
No?
No.
Not at all?
No, I don't consider myself any of those things, and I know a lot of guys don't either. We just did what we wanted to do, and I'm asked, to do it. So
it was a job.
Not really a job. For me, it was something I always wanted to do, so that was my life.
Okay.
That's all I ever thought about doing. I didn't think about any other jobs or anything else.
So you were stationed in Georgia?
I was for 3 months in boot camp, and then went to a base outside of Austin.
Okay.
About a half hour north of Austin, Texas.
Okay.
Is where it's at. It's actually centrally located there in Texas.
Okay, so you're there in Texas. What year is this?
2002 to 2008.
Okay, so September 11th happened before you were in the Army, or
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I had already started all of my stuff to actually go in.
Okay.
And then after that happened, I rushed to get more stuff done. And then after everything was done, I enlisted. And at that time, they were sending, it seemed like thousands of people a day. Because when I got to Georgia, you're in a reception area. And usually you're only there for I guess it's 3 to 5 days. I was there about a month.
Okay.
Because they were just pushing so many guys in that they couldn't ship them out fast enough into boot camp.
So you'd already made the decision to go into the Army. September 11th happens, and it sounds like that really fueled your fire even more.
No, it did, for sure. I saw the plane hit the second one, and I was like, no, we are heading to war. I mean, it was obvious. And so
what emotions specifically? Was there any anger?
Anger, sadness, distraught, how could this happen on our own soil? Nothing like that major has happened. I mean, you see it all over the world, but not where we are.
Okay.
And so
you're in Texas. When was your first deployment?
We left for Iraq March, the end of February, March of 2004.
Okay. So your thoughts heading into Iraq, was it just, you tell me, what kind of emotions were you experiencing at this point?
Scared, nervous, excited. Excited to actually be able to do my job. We were supposed to go on the first wave actually, but our orders got canceled. So we ended up leaving, I think it was 6 or 7 months after the war had already started. And we were all pretty pissed about that. We wanted to be in the first start of the war. We had done ops over at Hood to actually prepare for those things. We did raft operations and stuff like that to get ready for it, and then we ended up leaving 6-7 months later.
Okay. Was that your first and only deployment, or did you go again?
I did 2 deployments.
Okay.
The first one was in Solder City in 04 to 05, and then 06 to 08 was up north.
Okay. So that first deployment, how did that go?
It was fine. We were told it was gonna be easy. Where we were going had no issues throughout their year there, roughly that they were there, and then when we got there, everything kind of went to hell.
How so?
Solder City blew up. And one of our units got ambushed. And so I was actually in the talk, which is the kind of your newsroom where all the radios are and whatnot. And so we were up there and one of our units got ambushed. And so a lot of things happened, a lot of emotions that day and throughout the rest of the tour.
So you're in this room. Are you hearing on the radio?
Correct.
Ugh.
Correct.
What was that like?
Something that I obviously won't ever forget, because I knew a lot of the guys out there and also the ones who got sent out to help them. It was my old platoon that was out there.
Okay.
And so
I'm assuming there were some deaths.
There was 7 deaths that day, and then because it took a long time to get our other units to the guys,
right?
And so there's actually a movie, or I think it's a 10-part series on it on Nat Geo. Did it, the Long Road Home.
Chuck
and
was actually telling me that.
About it.
That's awesome.
And so those guys are my heroes. I know them. They did the inevitable. They sacrificed. I mean, yeah, we all did. But, that day and the events leading up to that and then beyond that are, strenuous enough. So.
Well, and at the same time, you guys are out there doing your job. There are risks involved. Like,
correct.
That it's not a guarantee that you're going to come back from a mission or something alive.
No, there's not. When that you consider it, it's like, so I spent the first 4 months inside the talk, and I would go out when I could, and then since I worked underneath the colonel,
right.
I would always ask, be like, when am I able to go, actually go out again on the line. And so finally, after asking to go back down, he was like, all right, Jeff, our M-man, he would call me. He's like, all right, go.
He called you what?
M-man.
Okay.
And so he sent me down to my old unit, or my old platoon.
Because you wanted to go.
Correct.
You were like, let's do this.
Yeah, I even though every job or every part has a job, I wanted to be with all of my friends on the line, out the wire every day. I didn't like sitting in the wire. I didn't like to be able to not go out every day.
Okay. So that first deployment, and just so everybody knows, that ambush they've created a series
correct.
On television, so people can actually watch and
correct.
Hear this story, and there's a book too.
Correct.
Have you read the book?
I did. It took me a while to read it. And then it took me even longer to actually watch the full series.
Just because it was...
Just because I mean, obviously I know what happened, and to relive it through that. When they were filming it, I was actually able to go to my old base and actually meet a lot of the cast members and actually be in small parts as an extra here and there. And it was awesome to see all of my old Army friends again who were there, and to experience that with them and to see where they actually made the film and where they did everything with it.
Okay, so you come home from this deployment.
Correct. And
home is... did you go back to Texas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Was there anything when you got back? We talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, all the time in the news. Was that something that, was it real for you when you got back?
As far as
Did you experience any sort of PTSD when you got back?
I honestly did. At the time, I didn't think
No?
so.
Okay.
I thought everything was fine, and it really wasn't a big issue back then because it was so new and it wasn't really looked at that time. So when we would get back, they'd be like, you'd have to go through this long line of panels, like, okay, are you sick? Not. Do you need help? Da 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 da. And it was like, nope, we're good. Bye. And
Well,
that
of
was
course,
it.
yeah.
You know, there's no. Well, yeah, I'm sad. There wasn't any of that stuff. You know, we really handled all that stuff within our unit or our friends.
Right. And
so,
looking back now, though, do you think, I did suffer from...
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, you don't go through anything like that and not have any...
Something.
Yeah, exactly. Something happened.
Right.
You know, and honestly, I didn't realize that I really had any of that until probably a few years ago to last year. So, and that even this year, because after my second deployment, I got hurt. IED blew up underneath our Bradley, and we all got evac'd out. And
so yeah, let's talk about that, because you went back a second time. When was that second deployment?
That was October of 2006.
Okay. So you are, well, you explain it. You guys were on like a mission. You were driving around.
Yeah, we were on a 9-day mission, and on the 8 or 9 day, and on the last day, we were on a route, and we were the lead Bradley, and you could see the guns. Our guns turn, and you could see a guy, and then an explosion, and then like everything else is kind of intermittent, hit or miss. And I remember the explosion, and then I remember being naked on a Black Hawk, flying to the hospital, and it was cold, and that's about all I remember out of all that. So
that's pretty good. So did you guys drive over?
Yeah.
An
so
IED?
we were the lead Bradley.
Okay.
And when we were going, it blew up underneath us, and I was told later by some of our guys who were still there, who were actually engaged after that.
Right.
That I guess it was 4 155 arty rounds, which are pretty big bombs. And then they also had a secondary one to actually hit the fuel tank and have it ignite on us. So the first one blew, hit the tanks, everything. We were all in diesel and everything else. And then the second one, I guess, was supposed to actually have it ignite on us, but that obviously never happened.
So how many people were in this vehicle that you were in?
There was 6 of us. Sorry.
You're fine.
There was 6 of, myself, I was the team leader, my squad leader, and then my 3 guys, and then some of the other, there was probably total between the crew of the actual Bradley, that was 3, and then us, there was probably 9 guys.
Okay.
Inside of it. So luckily nobody died. Okay. So that was obviously a plus.
Right.
But 4 of us got evac'd out.
Okay. What were your injuries?
I took shrapnel in my left leg, severe nerve issues in my leg, and a head injury.
A head injury. Okay. So your next memory is being naked on a Black Hawk. And you were flown where?
LSA, Anaconda, which is in Halad.
Okay. So any recollection after that? I mean...
Yeah, no. I started to actually... I was actually started to see and actually know where I was at and what was going on. I couldn't feel my left leg at all. It was completely numb. And about 4 or 5 months after that, I actually ended up staying in Iraq I got moved to an armor, so I would issue out guns and send them out to get fixed and whatnot. And one of my friends of mine who I was in Iraq with the first time was the armor, so he took over my team and I took over his job.
Okay.
So I stayed there. I was on a cane for probably 4 or 5 months. Had a really bad limp.
Okay.
And then when we got home in December of '07, I got moved to the Wounded Warrior Unit over at Hood.
Okay.
And spent about a year there of rehab and everything else. And then I got out of the military.
Okay. So that. Any surgeries did you have to undergo?
No. It was a small amount of shrapnel, but it hit the right nerves.
Right.
So it kind of nothing. No surgeries for, that. It was just where it had hit and some stuff to my nerves on my leg.
What about the head injury? What was that specifically?
I don't know. They're still working on,
okay.
on, all the head injury stuff and whatnot. I just know that I wasn't able to remember my last name. There's a lot of stuff that I wasn't able to actually speak or remember a lot of stuff. And so over time, things have started to where I'm learning stuff again and whatnot. You would spend, I did, and I'm sure others did too, who I know. We would end up in classes and go through rehab of learning how to help you remember stuff, like by always writing it down and keep writing it down and keep doing certain stuff to help you remember, your everyday stuff. So I don't know if that makes sense.
That makes absolute sense. And are you finding that it's getting better as time goes on every day, or?
I honestly think I'm at a standstill with it. I know what I have to do to keep up on all of my own stuff.
Okay.
And there's days my son's my keys or my wallet or something, I will have it placed in, which I'm sure everyone does.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that's every day for me.
That's everything. Or I will think I closed the door or locked it and I didn't. Or just small stuff now that, I can see I always do. So
you walk into a room and you go, why did I walk into this room? That happens to me every day.
Yeah. So. So I would say I feel like myself again in a sense. Obviously, I'm not exactly who I was or what, but overall, I'd say I'm pretty good now and having to know where I have to or what I have to do to sustain where I'm at.
Okay, so you get home from, essentially you were blown up.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get home. What happens next? Is it just you get out of the military?
Correct.
Eventually. Was it life as usual?
No, it was. So at that time, I had a wife, and so we had moved back to the East Bay. My son was born in November of '08, and so I got out of the Army shortly after that. And so I didn't know where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. All I wanted to do was the Army. I had re-enlisted to head over to Germany. I had all these plans, and they kind of got squashed. Okay. So I was lost, honestly.
Why did they get squashed?
Well, I got hurt, and so I ended up getting out of the Army.
Okay.
So there wasn't any jobs left in the Army
those were
wanted
plans,
to do. Correct.
Those were plans you made before.
Correct.
Okay, I see. All right.
So, and I thought I would heal and be I'm able to do it, and I didn't. So got out of the Army and kind of just sat around for a little bit. I really didn't know what I wanted to do, and my ex-wife now, but at the time, was like, well, you like the EMS field and whatnot. Why don't you think about doing that? I'm like, I kind of want to be a cop. And that was my next thing. I'm like, well, why not? You know, I had spent a year in rehab learning how to run again. I gained like 300. I was just a mess. And I finally started to lose weight again and actually exercise and run and rehab how I should have. And I'm like, I'm going to be a police officer. And that's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And so I examined for Oakland PD, accepted with them the test. That was shortly after the 4 officers got ambushed outside of Oakland or in Oakland.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. You know, I want to still serve and whatnot. And
Sure.
then I thought about it. I'm like, you know, I kind of don't want to keep getting shot at. You know, it's kind of...
It's a good goal to have,
So
Jeff.
I was like, you know, I'm going to go into EMS. And so I started taking fire classes. And my ex-wife's grandpa lived up here in the city of Grants Pass.
Okay.
And so I was like, and started to look. We knew we wanted out of the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
And so started to look for, you know, internships or,
Sure.
you know, volunteering or whatever I could do. And my first call was to where I work now. And I don't remember who I spoke to back in 2009, but they're like, we don't have volunteers. We're all paid here. Sorry. You can look at D3 or D5 or,
Okay.
you know, whatnot.
So your first call was to Medford Fire.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, crap. Okay. So I started school at RCC and going through their EMT program and fire classes,
Mm-hmm.
and linked up with the EMT instructor and examined for the city as a intern for the city of Grants Pass. And at the time I wasn't accepted at first. I think I ranked 8th or something like that. I don't know. And I was like, well, okay, what am I going to do now? You know, and so I started to volunteer at Rogue River.
Okay.
And then December of 2009, I think it was, I received a call asking me if I wanted the internship over there at the city of Grants Pass. I'm like, hell yeah, I do. You know, that'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I started there that next term and spent my year and a half there learning the ins and outs of the job and just learning how to do it. And
Okay.
so.
All right. So it sounds like when you got out of the military, there was a little bit of, I don't want to say depression, but it sounds like a little bit of.
Well, no, you can. I
Okay.
mean,
Were you
it
depressed?
I really didn't know what I was here to do anymore.
No direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I was lost because everything I knew I wanted to do as a
Mm-hmm.
kid and as an adult ended,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in the Army. And so I didn't know where
Sure.
I was going to go or help out my son or, you know, that life. At
That chapter
time.
was
So,
closed.
Exactly.
Essentially.
Yep.
Okay. So during all of this time, as you're, you know, kind of figuring out your path, did the demons of being in war, were they coming back to you?
Yeah, you know, they were. I would always, you know, think about, you know, what had happened and why, the what, you know, the who, what, when, where,
Sure.
why type stuff. And I let it get to me a lot. And obviously it caused a lot of issues and whatnot. And, you know, I didn't think I had a, you know, a large issue, you know, with it. I just thought it was normal,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that because the whole mental health thing wasn't really still even a big deal. It just started to come into play in the last, you know, 2 or 3 years to where it actually, well, from what I see anyway,
Right.
you know, an actual push, I guess, or emphasis on it.
Well, it seems different. It's definitely different now, I think. But I agree with you. Maybe several years ago, we just sort of expected you guys to come home and get right back into the life that you had before you left. And it's just, that's a crazy thing to think about now.
Now it is, yeah, but
Then right, the expectation
then it was normal.
Is normal, exactly.
So,
and I mean, I can't imagine how difficult that is to, experience what you experienced and then come home and just be Jeff.
Yeah, and you know what though, everyone, I can't say everyone because that'd be,
Right.
assuming, but a lot of the guys I know, and went over there with, we've, all experienced stuff. We've all been through a lot of stuff, home, through marriages, divorces, friends' suicides. We've experienced a lot since we've been home. But what I've seen now is a lot of my dudes that I was over there with, my brothers and friends, is a lot of them are doing stuff to help other vets, starting ranches. One of the guys started a legacy ranch out. It's somewhere near our old base, or like 4 hours away. But they help vets with severe PTSD, and to house them with, and help with animals and care with, all that, and so I see that we're now making it a big deal, to actually get help, to help others who have experienced or will experience.
For sure. And PTSD was very real for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Again, you said at the time it didn't really occur to you, but now looking back, it was something that was very real for you.
Oh, it is, and, it was. And that it is, honestly, I think I will always have it. I will always have those emotions and whatnot. It's just now knowing how to deal with them and how not to deal with them. And so that's one thing I've learned, and that's one thing that I am, hoping, and what I have, brought to where I'm at now, is to be that support person for some of our guys who will go through calls or whatnot at work or home life or whatever it may be.
Well, because you have lived it, and like you said, the ways to deal with PTSD to make it better.
Well, I'm not an expert, obviously.
Yeah, but but you have lived through it.
Yeah,
and that
correct.
kind of makes you an expert to me.
And there's an individual who I won't name she's awesome, and that she helped me through a lot of stuff. And so, learning from that, learning from my time, to learn how to deal with those, with those issues, and to know that it's not normal, and that we all need help here and there, to get us back on track. Okay. And so. And
this is something that you just said, this will be something that you have to work probably for the rest of your life. Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, if you look at, from what I've seen anyway, is any major event in your life, you will always have to work through it. And you can either let it eat you up and basically destroy you, or you figure out how to handle it, and you work through it, and you keep working through it to where it's easier to work through those issues.
What are some of the things that help you? Like, is there anything physical? I mean, I'm sure.
I golf.
Okay.
Even though I'm horrible at it, I get pissed. But I love to golf. I love to go out and shoot guns, hikes, run, just like, PT exercise, outdoor sports, softball, just, hang out with my son.
I was going to say your kiddo.
Yeah. He's a huge, it's weird, but like, now he's at the age where we can go out and experience life. He's not a baby anyway. He's 9, almost 10.
I was going to say he's 10.
And he acts about 18 most days. So, but no, him and I have a blast.
That's awesome.
We go out and do stuff every year, trips. took him to see Jake Owen when he was at Brit. We were in the he was at the gate, like right up in front, and
Awesome.
he snagged up a pick and a stick from them and got them to shake his hand, and the whole hand bump thing,
Right.
and just stuff like that is what makes everything worth it. The where I'm at now, with an awesome career, awesome individuals who I work with every day, and just what I'm able to do and experience, and especially with him, that is something I didn't have as a kid. And so,
Speaking of your awesome career, you got on with Medford Fire
correct.
when?
2014.
Okay. Was that a goal to
Yeah.
be with Medford?
It was when I started as an intern. I knew I wanted to work here.
Okay.
And so, one of the stories I used in my interview, and I still, speak of it because it's hilarious, is I was in a pumper operator class, and Sean Schmitty
Yes.
was my instructor, and that at the time I really had no interest in the whole engineering aspect.
Okay.
But I knew I had to do the class, and he always told me, he was like, "You'll make a good line guy, but I don't know if you can drive and pump." Like I can't remember the exact words of it, but I used that in my when I spoke in my interview,
Right.
and had everyone laughing, just like
Nice.
cry laughing. It
Perfect.
was hilarious.
So, with Medford Fire, and I know I've talked to James Opelt, and there's some other guys
now he's a hero.
Well, I
That
think he would
guy
probably say
is-
the same about you.
I respect that dude a lot. It's crazy that him and I got hired together because we were over in Iraq at the same time.
Right.
There's one other guy who we work with. He was over in Iraq at the
Right.
same time.
Well, and James
so-
was blown up too.
Yep.
So you guys,
So-
I mean, there's really this kind of connection
Oh yeah,
for
no,
you two.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, there is for sure.
That's awesome. We're going to wrap things up, and I'm going to get to the final three. But I just want to say thank you for your service. So,
Thank
pretty
you.
awesome. Best advice you've ever been given?
There's a lot. I don't know best. There's always duck. But
You can say what you said before we even got started. It was pretty funny.
Shoot back. No, I'd say the best advice is, that I'd say that I probably use now is, ask for help if you need it. Because I know for me, we can't get to where we want to go without help, regardless if it's small or big. Helping to move, a bed or a desk or something like that. You ask for help, and so that's one of the main things I would say is, ask if, you need it. It's not bad, it will help you in the long run. It may save your marriage. It may save your kids.
May save your life.
Your life. Exactly.
Okay.
So.
If you ever left this place, Southern Oregon, what would bring you back here? What would you miss the most?
Well, I know when I retire, I want to go back near Austin, Texas. That's where I want to retire. But I love Southern Oregon. I love who I've met here. I love working here. I love the atmosphere. Head over on the coast. Only an hour and a half away. I'd say the whole atmosphere of it is awesome. I would always come back.
Okay.
For sure.
Awesome. And then if you were ever given a final meal and a final drink, what would that
A final meal and final drink?
Yeah, your last meal on Earth. What would it look
last
like?
meal on Earth? Hell, I don't know. I'd say a steak. I don't know.
Perfect.
I'm sure that's everyone's response.
Not really. No, but
No,
steak is definitely on my list.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never really actually thought about it, to be honest with you.
Well, now
So-
you're going to think about it. All right, Jeff Matschke. This, if you're listening to this podcast on iTunes and you like it, please subscribe, rate, and review. It helps other people find us. We are also on Google Play. And if you can, if you want to check out the video portion of this podcast, just head to ktvl.com, click on features, and then off script. Once again, Jeff Matschke, thank you so much.